Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the latest economic survey to unpack a really fascinating story, India's high-stakes fiscal balancing act. You've got the central government pulling in the reins, while some states are spending more freely. So what does this tale of two ledgers mean for the country's economic future? Let's find out. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the big picture, the bright spots in India's economy. Then we'll get into the central government's game plan, and you'll see how that contrasts with a totally different story playing out in the States. After that, we'll look at the final scorecard when you put it all together, and finally, we'll talk about what the path ahead looks like. All right, let's kick things off with the good news. India's economic bright spot. You know, the main headline coming out of the economic survey is this incredible resilience. Despite a pretty tough global scene, India's macroeconomic performance has been impressively strong. It's really been a standout, especially since the pandemic. And here's the core contrast the survey really wants us to see. While the rest of the world is dealing with all this turmoil, financial wobbles, and trade issues, India's domestic economy has just been chugging along like a powerful engine, all thanks to solid growth and some smart, stable policies. So that begs the question, right? How has the central government been managing the country's finances through all of this? Well, let's take a look at their playbook. The big theme for the union government has been this strategy called fiscal consolidation. Now, it sounds a bit jargony, but it's really just a disciplined, long-term plan to trim deficits and, get the country's financial house in order. And this has been absolutely crucial for keeping things stable. To really get a sense of how big this effort is, you have to rewind to 2021. In the thick of the pandemic's fallout, the fiscal deficit was a staggering 9.2% of GDP. That's the mountain they were staring at. But the government's response wasn't some quick, panicked fix. They actually laid out a very clear multi-year glide path to bring that number down. And the target? To get below 4.5% by 2026. The best part is, so far, they're right on track. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just that they're spending less overall, it's how they're spending it. The survey points to this massive strategic shift. Just look at this chart. The slice of the pie going to long-term investments, we're talking roads, railways, things that fuel future growth, has almost doubled. That's a huge pivot away from just covering day-to-day bills. And this disciplined approach isn't going unnoticed. In 2025 alone, 3 separate global rating agencies basically gave India a big thumbs up, upgrading its sovereign credit rating. That's a massive vote of confidence from the international community in how the country's finances are being managed. So the center's story is one of real discipline and looking towards the future. But the survey is very clear. That's only half the picture. And this is where we get to the real tension in India's fiscal story. This brings us to the absolute core question the survey is asking. Is everyone pulling in the same direction? While the central government is steering this steady course of investment and consolidation, are the states doing the same? And, well, according to the survey, the answer is not quite. This table shows this growing split clear as day. While the center is laser-focused on long-term capital projects, a lot of states are spending more on things like unconditional cash transfers, and that's driving up their daily running deficits. And the numbers really back this up. Look at this. The number of states with a healthy revenue surplus has dropped pretty dramatically. The survey warns this is a real risk. Why? Because when states spend more on these kinds of handouts, it can crowd out the money needed for those essential growth-driving investments, which kind of undermines the center's whole long-term strategy. Okay, so we've got these two very different stories going on. So what happens when you put them together? What's the final score for India's finances as a whole? To get that final score, economists look at something called general government finances. You can just think of it as the total national report card. It rolls up the center and all the states into one single consolidated picture. And this is really where the center's strong performance pays off big time. Even with the challenges at the state level, India's overall performance is a genuine global standout. Just look at the chart. While other major economies like the US and the UK actually saw their debt go up after the pandemic, India has managed to bring its overall debt down. That works out to a huge 7.1 percentage point reduction in the debt-to-GDP ratio. It really goes to show that for now, at least, the center's discipline strategy has been powerful enough to steer the entire country's finances in the right direction, even with some of those headwinds coming from the states. So, what does this all mean for what's coming next? Let's take a look at the path ahead. The survey really wraps it up nicely here. The way forward is to keep up this careful balancing act. And the key, it says, has been the center's credible and transparent strategy. That's what has built so much confidence, both inside India and around the world. But the real takeaway is this. For India to truly lock in a secure fiscal future, this balancing act has to be a team sport. And that leaves us with this final, crucial question. The center is showing the way, but can the states align their own priorities to make sure the entire country is pulling in the same direction? The answer to that is going to shape India's economic story for years to come.